Okay, so this is the end of Sunday Talk number 3. This is part 6. So I thought today was going to be uneventful, and then suddenly it just started blowing up. So another one is down. The statue of Hafez al-Assad has fallen once again in the heart of Daraa after the city liberation. Southern Syria, Daraa, where the civil war originally broke in 2011, has fallen. The Syrian rebels took control of the city of Daraa in north of the country. Syrian regime forces in Daraa have surrendered. So the Assad has become surrounded in that particular incident right there. And let's see, Romania. The Constitutional Court ruled that the results of the presidential election held a few days ago are nullified. Wow. Israel again warned Iran via a third-party country it would ruthlessly stop any attempt to send Iranian weapons or troops to Syria to fight the Turkish-backed rebels. Of course, all this stuff right here is from Amir Tsarfati's Telegram channel. All that's left now is to eliminate Iran's nuclear sites. So, basically speaking about the fact that the Hamas in Gaza has been stopped, Hezbollah in Lebanon has been stopped. Now Syria has been taken over, which Syria has been used historically by Iran to smuggle weapons into Hezbollah to supply them, and they in turn smuggle into Hamas. So all of that's basically broke down. The entire ring of fire that the Iran has put up around Israel is basically collapsing. Peace and safety? Think about it. Both Egypt and Jordan officials have urged Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to leave the country and establish a government in exile again. That was posted according to Amir Tsarfati on Wall Street Journal. IDF spokesman: the Air Force intercepted a short time ago a missile launched from Yemen. The missile was intercepted before it crossed into Israeli territory. Armed clashes between Syrian government and rebel forces are reportedly taking place in the town of Sahnaya, 2.5 miles southwest of Damascus. Speaking from the presidential palace in Seoul, South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol issued an apology hours before Parliament's vote to impeach him for the unsuccessful attempt for martial law earlier this week. Bashar Assad told around 30 Ba'ath officials in Damascus to prepare to leave the country. He is likely to make a decision after today's Doha meeting. The UN delegation is preparing to leave Damascus after the great collapse of the Assad regime. A report in the New York Times: yesterday morning, Iran began evacuating the members of its Revolutionary Guard and diplomats from Syria. A video distributed on channels affiliated with Iranian Revolutionary Guards documentation of the Sayyid Zainab Mosque in Damascus, one of the central points of the Iranian presence in Syria. The speaker in the video says they left Syria. There is not even one Iranian force left in Syria. I hope they don't come here. Speaking of the rebels. The Syrian rebels advancing towards Deir ez-Zor. U.S. officials told the NPR radio network that the Russian military have withdrawn from Syria and Russian warships have been pulled out of the port of Tartus to protect them. And of course you can see that at the beginning of this there's a map, and most of Syria is red with Assad forces. As of now it's a small sliver kind of to the northwest, I guess, in orientation, just a small sliver that's left under the Assad regime. Eastern Syria, Deir Zir prison is liberated. So as they take over, the rebels, as they take over these cities, they're going into the prisons, busting them open and releasing all the prisoners, which basically are their friends, I would assume, arrested during insurrections and uprisings and so on and so forth. Luminous objects in the sky. Field test in the armed forces of Iran. It kind of looks like jagged twists and turns, and then some real weird squigglies, kind of like those buzz guns you see around diplomatic embassies and such, and it's like 1,000,000 rounds a second firing, and all you see is a little trace going through the sky as it's shooting at whatever target is coming close. It's what it kind of looked like in the sky, so some kind of weapon that Iran is testing. Following the situation in Syria, the IDF dug a huge obstacle, so they're digging a trench across there to make it harder for any rebels to cross. Israel's concern is Al-Qaeda and ISIS taking over Syria completely, and they're at their border. They would rather have the Syrian Assad regime at the border because they're easier to deal with, apparently. So Assad family has ruled Syria with an iron fist for 53 years. We are witnessing a monumental historical moment in world history. Nearly 150,000 people in the streets protesting the South Korean president, urging him to step down. Assad regime forces militants withdraw from Quintra, close to the border with Israel. Syrian opposition factions announced the capture of strategic Palmyra. Let's see. After I reported that what the media said about the decision of the Constitutional Court of Romania, a good friend of mine who lives there shared with me today the majority of normal Romanians view the decision as a great abuse. Gregorcus is not far right, but he has stated that he is a ultra pro-Trump supporter, pro-Israel, promising to move the Romanian embassy to Jerusalem and will work with the Trump administration to end the Russian war in Ukraine. He has no proven connections with Russia. This is huge fake news. The progressives, under Soros's influence in both Europe and the U.S., felt that they were losing power, so they used all means to take Gregorc out. If the election were to remain scheduled for Sunday, Gregorc would have more than 80% of the vote. All I've mentioned reflects the opinion of the majority of Romanians, including most evangelicals. And that's Amir Tsarfati posting that, speaking with a friend of his in Romania. Syrian opposition forces took control of missile storage facilities after liberating them from Assad forces and Iranian militias in Palmyra. Al Jazeera reporter, the Syrian regime forces were withdrawing from the city of Al-Qatain, Al-Faresk, and other areas east of Homs, and are heading to the capital of Damascus. Kanakir, which is strategically positioned approximately 30 kilometers from Damascus, has been liberated by Syrian opposition forces. Reports that the rebels have advanced and now are only 20 kilometers from Damascus. The Alternative for Germany, AfD party, has officially nominated Alice Weidel as a candidate for German Chancellor. Assad regime has begun withdrawing its forces from Artuj, is approximately 15 kilometers from the center of Damascus. So they're just getting closer and closer throughout the day. This is the Palestinian lies and propaganda has cost us. This is Palestinian terrorism. I don't really understand that statement, but okay. According to a report published last year, since the outbreak of the civil war in Syria in 2011, Iran has invested and apparently lost over $50 billion in the survival of the Assad regime. So Iran has been spending tons of money to keep the Assad regime in place, because the Assad regime in Syria is allowing Iran to use that country to move weapons through to its proxies. South Korean National Assembly has failed to pass the vote to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol. He will remain in office for now. Syrian Observatory. Syrian opposition forces are at the gates of Damascus. Assad's southern front is collapsing much faster than anyone thought. His forces must just evacuated out of the Al-Kishwa, south of the capital city. Syrian opposition forces took control of missile store. Wait, no. we read that. Let's not read that again. The Southern Front rebels are now about 10 kilometers from Damascus. Assad failing means that the Islamic regime in Iran and the IRGC won't be able to smuggle weapons to Hezbollah in Lebanon through Iraq and Syria anymore. Let's see. Syrian opposition fighters reached Deira, just 5 kilometers from central Damascus and 6.5 kilometers from Assad's palace. Historic. Hafez al-Assad statue toppled in Ramana, just 4 kilometers from Damascus. Assad regime forces changing military uniforms in civilian clothes in public. So they're out in the streets changing clothes from their military uniforms into civilian clothes, because the rebels are coming and they just want to look like civilians so they don't get attacked. I guess they got no place to go. After President Yoon managed to survive the impeachment and remained in power, pro-democracy protests are now in place. So now they're protesting because they weren't able to, the government wasn't able to impeach the, I don't know what you call them, but whatever of North Korea, the president, I guess. President-elect Donald Trump. The rebels in Syria are on the outskirts of Damascus, preparing a major move to overthrow Assad. Russia, due to heavy losses in Ukraine, cannot stop this. Both the Russians and Assad may be expelled from Syria, which might actually be the best thing for them. Russia has never gained anything from its presence in Syria. Syria is a mess, but it's not our ally. The U.S. should not get involved at all in what's happening there. This is not our war. Let events unfold. Don't interfere. That was a statement released by Donald Trump. Assad regime forces flee Damascus Mazah area now. Withdrawing Assad regime militias blow up an arms depot. So they're blowing up. Now they're starting to blow up arms depots behind them as they leave, which is smart. I mean, if you are in power and you have all your weapons and stuff, blow them up before you leave. If you can't take them with you, don't leave them for the enemy to pick up and shoot you with. Kind of like getting shot with your own gun. And a lot of concealed carry people have had that happen. So Syrian regime soldiers defect to Iraq with their military equipment. So some are actually bringing their equipment with them. Footage shows several T-55 tanks, BMP-1s, Brem-1s, trucks carrying 122mm D-30A howitzers, and pickups packed with infantry, at least hundreds of them. What happens to them now? Well, that's wow. Somebody's getting a stockpile of guns. The General Staff Building and the Air Command Building in Damascus are empty. They left. The pocket of the Syrian army in the Kurdish region has surrendered. The Syrian army held several settlements within the Kurdish region following the agreement between the Kurds and Assad. Oh, IDF spokesman, a short time ago, an attack by armed men was detected against UN post in... Okay, so here, some armed group is attacking the UN station somewhere around there, and Israel went in to protect them and help support them. And all the UN has done is persecute Israel and sanction against them. They actually passed a deal to label them as genocide. So anyway, that's kind of strange, but they apparently have. Another mysterious plane left Damascus, headed east a short time ago. Assad regime soldiers withdrew from 4 districts in the Damascus countryside. Trump met with Macron in Paris. A meeting on Syria will be held between Turkey, Iran, Russia, Iraq, Egypt, Jordan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Doha tonight, according to regional sources. So think about it. That is in the Bible, where all of them come together and start a coalition is what they use and end up attacking Israel. Let me read those names again. Let me find it, and I'll read those names again. A meeting on Syria will be held between Turkey, Iran, Russia, Iraq, Egypt, Jordan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. Okay, the German Bild newspaper. The family of President Bashar Assad fled to Russia. That was a German newspaper that stated that. Russian naval assets are allegedly withdrawing from Tartus, Syria. I think he had already mentioned that. First talks between Kurds in Syria and Israeli representatives. So Israel is starting to speak with the Kurds over there, probably trying to form some sort of middle road. Assad has basically gone missing. They don't know where he's at, what's going on, or what the deal is. So here we've got breaking initial Syrian reports update that the IDF has crossed the purple line in the northern Golan region and is in the buffer zone. Washington Post report most of Iran's military force led Syria by plane from Damascus airport. So here are my comments. So what I'd like to basically say is, think about this. Why am I doing this? Why am I reading this? Why am I going over all this? It's because I want everybody to understand that we are living in the end times. If you look at history, news, your television, what you saw 7 years ago versus what you saw 3 years ago, what you're seeing on TV 2 years ago, last year, and what you're seeing on television this year. Imagine what you're going to be seeing next year, because you will notice, if you pay attention, it has exponentially gotten worse throughout the world. And that's exactly what it says in the Bible. So you can think about it however you want, but I want you to read 2 Peter 3. Just do that. Read 2 Peter 3. And just know this, that tomorrow is not promised. And today may be the last day to choose Jesus. Don't pass it up. Don't give it up. Read 2 Peter chapter 3, and you'll understand what I'm saying. You'll understand that it is not time for you to think about it. It's time for you to do action. So I'm going to roll up a scripture that struck me somehow or another, and it's from God, not from me. That's the reason why it's rolling up. I don't know where it come from, how, but during this 6-part deal, it's just was impressed on me to roll this scripture, and it's for you. I thank you. I appreciate you spending your time here. I would ask that you would like and subscribe and join the channel. Mainly, if you don't do any of that, comment below. Let's talk about this stuff and discuss it. That's how we all learn. I thank you, and God bless.